So, quick video. I've had quite a few very unusual, supernatural, paranormal events happening, sort of escalating in the last few weeks. Nothing too much of concern, like I haven't felt an urge for an exorcism or smudging my house or anything, but it's kind of getting to the point where it's starting to look like I might have to do that. Um, I had a beautiful, covered in bird shit, don't mind me. I had a beautiful magical day in Springbrook Mountains and forests with my best friend Jared and my daughter Crystal. And we really did have some lovely experiences. I took lots of photos of us, me crouched under a dead trunk at Pearling, Pearling Forest Park, I think it was called. Anyway, there's a beautiful tree trunk there, a dead tree trunk, but it's just left there, and it's magical. And we took photos, and I had the urge to go and climb underneath it because I could see this beautiful golden light streaming from a hole at the top of the trunk and just pouring down through into the darkness of the shadow, the shade inside the tree. And I just thought, oh, I have to go and play with that. My inner child went, I need to play with the fairies. And so, although I didn't actually expect any fairies to be there, but I suspected there might be. Anyway, I didn't invoke them or pray to them or anything like that. I just thought I'll just be playful and curious and, explore. So I crouched down and I held my hands under the light, and my friend Joe took photos, and we all took turns crouching under the light. And because I was a bit hesitant at first, even though I was first to go under there, so we sort of got a bit closer and cupped our hands like this right under where the light streamed. So it looked like we were literally holding golden cups or chalices of this golden fluid, which was just the light streaming through, but it was just so beautiful. And I even joked and said, oh, we found our pot of gold. And then I said, don't worry, fairies, I'm not stealing your gold, because we don't want to steal fairy gold. My goodness, there'd be hell to pay. But anyway, I was just being playful. And the gold was this, though. The gold was this. We each took turns and we each cupped our hands, and we each sort of enjoyed playing with the light pouring onto our hands, and because it was just so magical. I know it's just ordinary to most people that don't have imaginations or the scientific paradigm that are all black and white and boring, but we had so much fun. So anyway, I came home last night and there was something quite demonic and evil happened, but I won't go into that for this video. I don't need to go in for the purpose of this video, but it was actually the complete antipathy for everything we had gone through during the day, which was lovely. It was like from the sublime to the horror. There was like on off switch. It was just awful. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Probably nothing, but I was quite distressed. Anyway, this morning, what's the time now? It's actually afternoon now, but anyway, a couple of hours ago, I was just perusing through the beautiful photos of us playing with the light in our hands, and I just sort of, my eye was drawn to a few shapes in the background and on the bark of the tree and in the actual light source coming down from the top of the tree of the hole, and I saw actual faces and little faces of what looked like little beings watching and looking down. So I thought, well, that's interesting. Some of it was pareidolia, like you could argue, oh, it's just shapes in the bark of the tree and the way the light's reflected on it. But some of them were definitely spirits, definitely, to my expertise. So I spent the last hour or so you know, taking copies of each photo and marking out the little faces and posting them back on the Facebook, because I actually enjoy it when my more, let me just say, shamanic or witchy alternative friends, or those that are a little bit more in tune with the multiverses and the straight up scientific paradigm that think everything is just boring and, you know, the world is just physics and chemistry, and they shut out the spiritual, which is just, it's like having literature without poetry, or sunshine without sunbeams. It's just fucking boring. But anyway, that's their paradigm, that keeps them sane, and you know, my worldview keeps me sane, relatively. Sometimes it gets a bit scary, but you know, when I have hauntings around the house. But apart from that, most of all, I deal with it and quite sensibly, and you know, what's the word? Cognitively stable. But anyway, I posted these lovely photos and I sent them to my friend Jared, because I thought, well, he probably hasn't noticed. I'm going to have to flick this bird shit off me. My bird, you know, Charlie, she's a shitter. What can I say? Shit happens all the time to me. But anyway, we also, just doesn't look kosher, does it? I mean, oh. Anyway, here we go again. Mama T in a process of tidying herself up for my beautiful Facebook and YouTube audiences. So anyway, where was I? I digress. I'm in the process of cleaning my act up. Yes, that's right. I sent the photos to Jared and said, look, Jared, in his photo, where he was holding his hands, at the source of the light where it was coming down, quite clearly, I had to look several times because I didn't believe my own eyes. At the base of the light source, you can see the outline. Now, you could argue it's refractions of sunlight, it's moisture in the air, it's dust motes, it's, you know, shadows, reflecting off the bark. I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of rational reasons why there was a little man peering down at Jared with a little beard and looking down. He had his hands sort of tucked down the side of the tree like that, and he's looking down. And look, clear as day to my mind, and Jared's recognised him too, there's this little elderly fairy looking down at him. And then in a couple of shots of mine, when I sort of delved a bit deeper because I was more focused on Jared's fairy, I was greatly excited by that, I noticed that in my hands there were little faces around the periphery of my light source, and then one was sort of in the background was a man standing. You can see his face quite clearly, his features and everything, like a colour photograph, and he's wearing a military greatcoat, like a World War One military coat with double-breasted buttons, which means he was an officer of some kind. And how is he standing? He's sort of standing, it's hard to, he's sort of standing like this, like with his hand